And man, we got another low-key banger in this next fight, man. Kyle Nelson taking on Steve Garcia. And both these guys have been on streaks lately. They're both unbeaten in their last four fights. Kyle Nelson, he's had a couple sweet finishes in the UFC, but Steve Garcia recently has become a finishing machine. He's knocked out his last four opponents in a row, and he's knocking them out in violent fashion. Nelson, he was originally supposed to have a huge fight on this date. He was going to take on Calvin Kattar, but Cater pulled out kind of relatively early after the fight announcement, so it gave both guys time to game plan and kind of prepare. Steve Garcia, he is taking it on shorter notice, and he just fought like 5 weeks ago too, so he did get a pretty quick knockout. Didn't take much damage in the fight, but Garcia did have a training camp. He did cut weight, so there is potential for some diminishing returns here if Garcia is a little depleted. Momentum-wise, though, Garcia has to be confident, and so does Nelson for that matter. As far as level of opposition during their streaks, both have been okay opponents. I mean, neither guy has kind of had a run of beating flakes, but I think Nelson has had a lot tougher strength of schedule, to be honest with you. And style-wise, Kyle Nelson is a huge 145er. He's well-rounded. On the feet, he's a stance switcher, and he likes to carry his hands high, walk fighters down. He'll throw some leg kicks, body kicks, nice jab, and then he's ready to time heavy counters. He has a sneaky lead hook. He has a big overhand, and he'll rip the body too really effectively. I like his body punches. His last fight, he was able to hurt Algio a few times, swarmed him, landed a couple big knees, and it definitely was an early stoppage, but Algio was rocked quite a few times in the round, and Nelson was able to show his power once again. And Nelson's a durable guy. He's usually able to take a lot of damage. He's better defensively compared to Garcia, in my opinion. And I think he has to mix it up in this spot to be successful, though. He's probably not going to be as fast as Garcia. And while I do believe he has the power to time a counter knockout, Garcia is very dangerous. So if Nelson could slow him down a little bit with some takedowns, it would help him control the pace better. But Kyle Nelson, he has decent wrestling. He's strong. He's big for the division. He'll time the double. He'll crash into the clinch. He can muscle fighters around. He can hold them against the fence. He is a little sloppy with his top control. He can lose position sometimes. He'll kind of try to jump on the back a little too hastily and give up that top control. But one thing about Steve Garcia is he can be controlled, and he gives his back up. So that's something Nelson could definitely exploit here with a little bit more composure and grappling sharpness. But Nelson, he did have some problems in that dirty boxing range in the clinch with Billy Q. And Billy Q was able to get him tired and finish him in the third. So he has to be aware at all times with Steve Garcia in close range that Garcia has that short range knockout power. But I feel like the fact that Kyle Nelson was getting ready to fight a really good stand-up fighter in Calvin Kattar probably means he was mixing it up, trying to wrestle during his camp. So hopefully he's ready to get some takedowns here. And cardio-wise, Nelson's had issues in the past, but he said that he's kind of taken control of that, and it was a diet issue and some other things where now he has better cardio, and it's shown in his subsequent fights during this win streak. But if someone's going to get him tired, Steve Garcia is a guy that pushes a high pace. And you look at Steve Garcia, he's fast, explosive southpaw. He's a pressure fighter. He likes to bring the action. He has good feints. He'll fake the level changes. He has long arms. And he kind of uses his fakes to lull fighters, and then you'll explode in with heat. 1-2s, really nice right hook. And he's really, really willing to wane into the fire and just throw. So he throws caution to the wind, and he knows he has the power to finish anyone. He's very good in the pocket because he's fast, he's powerful, and he's has long arms. And he's more vulnerable when closing the distance. He got put to sleep by Mahishata, and sometimes he'll drop his hands and kind of just run in, which if he's timed, he can get put out. But his chin is good, and he trusts it. Kyle Nelson isn't really someone you want to get hit too much by, though, so I think that Garcia has to respect the power. Nelson is going to be looking to use leg kicks, counter Garcia whenever he throws kicks himself. So I think Garcia has to be disciplined with when he throws kicks, but try to just make it chaos in a typical Steve Garcia fight. But like I said, Garcia does tend to get controlled. He's been submitted with the rear naked choke a couple times, but he is good at kind of just staying composed. He trains at elevation, so he can drop around, getting held down, and then come back with great cardio and kind of finish guys, and he's been able to do that a couple times. But I'm actually going to go with Kyle Nelson in this fight. I think he's just the more technical fighter. I expect him to have a good game plan. I think he can win over 3 rounds by mixing it up, or I even think he can get the knockout. And I'm actually going to predict that Kyle Nelson cracks Steve Garcia with the overhand or a lead hook and finishes him in the first round. So I'm going with Kyle Nelson to win this one via knockout.